Hello, everybody. Andy Goldberg here. Welcome back to the Founders Chair podcast. Very, very excited to have on the show today Lawrence Brody and Lauren Bennett from the company Electrify. Lawrence and Lauren, welcome to the Founders Chair.
Hello.
Hi, nice to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming on. I'm really excited to hear the story of your company and your entrepreneurship. Can we find out a little bit about you personally first? Just tell us a little bit about you, where you're from, and what you get up to when you're not at work and family or anything like that, just so we get to know the real you first. Who wants to start?
Yeah. Don't mind. Do you want me to
You go.
go first? So I'm Lauren. I'm our company is based in Electrify is based in Livingston in Scotland. I'm actually from the northeast of England, from Middlesbrough, where I was born and raised, and I moved here. God, what now? I always forget. 7 years ago. 7 years ago. I can't. I'm really terrible at keeping track of time. 7 years ago, and obviously our story of how I came to be part of leading Electrify. I'm sure we'll get to.
Yeah, we will.
But outside of work, I'm quite a simple lead, quite a simple life. I like to exercise, go to the gym. I play basketball a little bit. I'm not particularly good, but I've done that since I was young.
She plays in the Scottish Premier Division, so she's slightly underplaying
I
herself.
play in, yeah, well, yeah.
Wow.
But everyone says wow, but it's not that big a deal. But anyway,
It's better than my basketball.
so basketball's my kind of thing, and exercising and being creative, and yeah, and so that's where I'm from. In terms of my background, I was always interested in creative. I was liked sport things, but always interested in creative media, and kind of had a natural talent for that. So went into illustration, graphic design at university, at Loughborough University in the Midlands, and I graduated in 2014, which was a long time ago, over 10 years ago. So that's kind of
Yeah.
me.
Brilliant.
So I'm from Edinburgh, so I'm not far from here. Um, I'm on my second career. So I started as a teacher. I was a primary school teacher until 2006. So it is a little while now. I'm 19 years into my second career, but I don't think I necessarily realized that I could do what I do now. At school, they didn't talk about marketing and communications and creative things in that same way because I wasn't into like art and design or those kind of subjects, if you like. But of course, that doesn't mean you can't be creative. So yeah, I had a teaching career that was about 5 years long, and then realized I had an opportunity actually to go and join Hearts Football Club. I'd worked part-time at weekends and evening matches, writing stuff for their website and their club magazine. And it just kind of took off from there. I realized that actually that's what I wanted to do. And so I did it. So yeah, there you are. I'm married to my wife Lucy, who's also a director of our business. We love going on holidays. And now that I'm free from working at Hearts and have been for a long time, I enjoy watching them at the weekend without the stress of exactly what result comes through, which always used to be the challenge when you're looking at it through a spreadsheet. And what kind of impact things will have. So usually go with my wife and my brother to the football as well. And yeah, lots of other things. I like listening to podcasts. I like keeping up to date with news, and do my best to keep my head level, which sometimes I succeed with,
Yeah.
and sometimes I don't.
So you're only on your second career. Wow.
I know, but in my defense, I'm
How many?
22.
I just can't even remember when I was on my second. Must have been 30 years. So tell us the story about how the business came about. What was the starting point? What gave you, did you co-found it together? And if so, what gave you guys the confidence to go out and start your own business?
So I always talk about the fact there's kind of two Electrifies. There is only one, but there's Electrify before Lauren and Electrify after Lauren, and I think it's a really interesting sort of situation. I wanted to create a business and founded it just nearly 10 years ago, 10 years ago at the end of this year. Um, I wanted to show that you could create really powerful creative campaigns, but do so in a really values-based way. Agencies, I don't think in the 80s and 90s in particular, worked in that sort of way. And I wanted to do something quite different. And so thought really carefully, less about the product, if you like, and more so about how we would do it. So the business got going. I was myself for the first couple of years, picked up a contract with BBC Alaba, the Gaelic TV channel that's funded by Scottish Government and the BBC. At that stage, we took on our first staff, and we were doing fine for the first 3 years. Um, but at that stage, we were growing and we needed to bring more creative support in house. And so that's where Lauren came in. And so you joined us 7 years ago,
Yeah.
and came on board. And I think it's fair to say this is where the difference comes. We were doing fine, we were doing well, we were profitable in the first 3 years. However, Lauren lifted it a level because I discovered somebody who had quite a rare talent that when designers say they're multimedia, most of them are at it. They're not really. They just use it as a bit of a term. But Lauren was a brilliant designer, a brilliant film editor, was learning to animate. At the same time, literally creativity was kind of
Mm.
everywhere around you. And you quickly started to raise the game in terms of the quality of what we were doing because unlike a lot of creatives, you also have a real attention to detail. And so that combination of creativity and attention to detail. So yeah, well, you
Yeah,
can pick up.
that's rare. Those two are often very conflicting, aren't they?
Yes,
And
it's why it was necessary to sort of handcuff you to the premises.
that I mean that is a rare combination of qualities to have, and I can see how that would work really well in your
Yeah,
company. So
Yeah, and I guess that there's a lot of projects that can be quite communication specific focus, like you were talking about BBC Alba and PR, but then there was the whole like creative campaign side of things, which grew and grew, because that there was two of us working together to kind of grow things. But I think that the interesting thing that I think would be interesting for this, that when you started out and founded it, you'd set aside, was it like like a couple of £1,000 or something? I think that's quite interesting that
yeah,
you kind of built it from nothing, but you set aside a set amount of money
yeah.
to get
Well,
going.
like lots of people, I loaned the business like £2,000 to get started. Usual thing: buy a laptop,
mhm.
you know, buy a notepad, basic bits and pieces. Um, I I was determined. I was going to pay myself back that as quickly as possible, but not because I was greedy. I mean, I didn't take a salary for the first 6 months. I was quite happy to just, get things up and running. But I was quite motivated to show that we could run it. We've never used a loan. We pay credit cards off every month. Our average payment time is less than 30 days. I was determined that everything we did, we would do it the right way, not just in terms of the output, in terms of how we work with clients and what we do, but actually how we run the business. And although we're a business of 8 people now, so, absolutely tiny in the grand scheme of things, we operate and think like a business that's definitely bigger than that in terms of like structure, and also our kind of mindset, if you like, in terms of excellence. We don't just say, oh, we're just a wee business, we're just scrabbling along. No, we want to be the best we possibly can be. And, that's a big opportunity for us. And I think you brought that challenge from day one.
Yeah, I think yeah, we wanted to, well, you were passionate about it being values led. That was kind of your
Yeah,
founding
yeah,
principle, and it grew from there. But we're very open in terms of processes with the team. So we have like open profit and loss. Everything's co-produced, well-being policies. Everything we look at, the whole team are involved. It's not really a kind of a top-down
yeah.
Yeah.
structure or approach. That's really important to
I need
us.
to get you on with a couple of my coaching clients because it's hard to get them to think like that. Share that kind of information with the team, and I don't want the team to know how much profit the company makes because they're all going to ask for a raise. And they have that kind of mentality of, I'd rather have informed team members than uninformed team members.
Yeah. Our thing is that we should be giving raises before people ask for them. And then when it's tough, because it's not always easy, it's not always, you have months where you're looking at the forecast and it's looking thin. We've always got there in the end each year, but the team can see when, we need to put the foot down and we need to bring in business, otherwise it's not looking good. So they can see all that on a monthly basis, which, has pros and cons, but I think overall it motivates everybody to be part of it.
So tell us a little bit about the company right now, what your main focus is, who you work for primarily, um, what your niche is maybe.
Just before I do that, can I just maybe just touch on another little bit just in terms of what you were saying, Lauren, because I think it's probably important to just get this bit out.
Yeah, sure.
I had reached a point, so I talk about before and after Lauren, but Lauren obviously came in as an employee, and came in on less money than she was earning in her previous job because we had what we had. It was like this is it, um, and very quickly showed enormous value, challenged always in like the right way and bringing new ideas forward. And I realized I've got a really good person here, and therefore every time we can, we need to, improve that situation. I think give you 3 pay rises or something in 9 months. But really importantly, we got to a stage where I was kind of coming up towards my 40th. It was late 30s. And I don't know if I was having a midlife crisis. It may be ambitious to think I'm going to make, if midlife was at 39, that I'm going to make it that far to 78. But was really thinking about what do I need to go forward? Where am I going? Do I need a mentor? And that was the bit that was in my head. I knew lots of other people who had businesses and they'd had mentors and people they talked to. And I chatted to a few folk. There was definitely people I knew. And then I had this little moment one day just shortly before lockdown where I looked across with an open plan office and Lauren sat opposite me. And I looked across and I suddenly realized it wasn't a mentor I needed, or if it was a mentor, the mentor was Lauren. And, Lauren's 10 years younger than me. And so, by most traditional ways, you'd look at that and say, well, how's somebody who's 28 going to be a mentor to somebody who's got at that stage, coming up 15 years experience in this particular sector. And so I sat with it, I sat with it and I didn't sort of lean across and say, Lauren, can I speak to you? But I thought about it a lot. And then probably about 10, 12 weeks into lockdown, I went round to Lauren's house, on work business in case the authorities are still listening. But I'd written a plan.
Yeah.
And I had said to her, I want to give you this part of this company and I'll gift it to you and I'll pay all the tax associated with it. So it is an absolute genuine gift. Here's some steps that we'll go through. Sorry, here's some steps we'll go through in that journey. You obviously wanted to take time to think about it because, as you said at the time, you're young as well, and suddenly somebody's saying, "Would you like to be tied into a business for a long time?" But without shadow of a doubt, we kind of developed it over 2 years to get to that point. It was the best. It's the best decision I've made in my career. Was looking and being open-minded and realizing that sometimes the answer is closer to you than you think, and the answer may not be what you thought it should be according to what people say, whoever people are. And so now, whereas I ran the business in its first few years, we co-lead it as absolute equals. There's no hierarchy. It's 2 people, both of whom run the business, one with creative, one with communications, and we make decisions jointly. And that has been brilliant for our business. It's been brilliant for the quality of work we do. And it's been, for me, it's an amazing thing to see Lauren flourishing into that role as well, because you probably weren't totally ready for it at the beginning, in the sense suddenly we hurled all these things and you're learning. Well, put it this way, it's a hell of a lot steeper learning curve than I had. Sort of gradually building into this industry. Suddenly you're running a business at 30, working with a lot of really important clients in the third sector space where we are.
So Lauren, what gave you the confidence to say yes to to the offer? Why not stick
God,
with something a bit more safe or comfortable? And maybe, I mean, is it the youth that makes us more adventurous, or
maybe it's a tough question. I don't know. I think I'd obviously been here for a little while, so I'd got used to the clients that we have and the work that we do, which is really good, which I know we'll come on to. And I think I guess I was maybe it was an adventurous thing. I was like, why not? Like, it's not things in life can always change. Like you're never really like tied into anything. You can, kind of like think like you can do whatever you want in life. You can achieve whatever you want in life. Like things can change at, the click of a button. Something could be thrown at you and you need to make a U-turn and go and do something else or be somewhere else. So I kind of thought, why not? And I think I could see in that first few years that we were doing more creative work compared to when I first joined. So it just kind of felt natural. Had I ever thought through like my early career, I'm gonna like run a business or like part own a business? Probably not. And that's not from being under ambitious. I'd never really thought about it. I knew I'd always been like reasonably good at what I do because of like the kind of influence from parents and things like that. They're both like really hardworking and kind of instilled that in like me, my brother, my sister. So it was always like I've got a hardworking like ethos, and but I never thought I would. I don't know. I just never thought I'd be presented with that, and I never thought I'd go and start something on my own. I think when you think about just creative things, like going freelance, doing sort of graphic design and illustration, is really hard, and I've seen lots of people that make a success of that. But also, being a one-man band is difficult. So I'd dabbled a little bit with freelance stuff, but I'd never. Yeah, I guess it probably was just why not? It was going well, so I did think about it. It wasn't just like, yeah. But yeah, I think it felt right. I always say that it just felt right and I can't really explain that, but it just did.
and you never know, right? You never know what the real outcome's going to be. So a lot of it is you have to go on feeling or impulse or intuition, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so okay, so tell us about Electrify. What do you do? Who do you do it for? Tell us a little bit about the why you love the company.
So we are a creative communications agency. We use the extraordinary power of storytelling to inspire change. Um, the, the vast majority of our clients are non-profit. So we work with charities, we work with some public sector organizations, and actually we work across some really difficult areas. So we work in things like suicide prevention, people living with life-limiting conditions, those that have experienced the loss of a baby, people who have experienced trauma, physical sexual abuse, experience of justice system. I could go on, but we deal with some of the most difficult things. And what's unique about us is we use co-production as a way of building campaigns and reimagining the brands that we work with. So that means we don't sit as an agency and, lie in a ball pit or play table tennis and drink beer on a Friday at 3 o'clock to generate our ideas. That just isn't us. It's not our style. What we do is we work with people who actually understand from their own lived and living experience, and we work together. And as a result, we build these incredible campaigns or develop new brands for charities. Uh, but it's rooted in the people who genuinely understand what it's all about. And that is an incredibly powerful way of working. And, now 10 years into this adventure, um, I'm not the slightest bit tired. I mean, I am quite tired most of the time, but I love what I'm doing. We watched last night, and this is a great pleasure as well. We watched two of our colleagues delivering a co-production session with a group of people, quite a mix of different disabilities and circumstances. And we watched them deliver the session last night and engaging with what about a dozen people and watching them help shape a new campaign that we're doing. So we're building it right through the business that it's at the heart of everything we do.
Yeah, I think it's that the kind of trust that people build with us. Like there's so many people that have, maybe thought about telling their story and being part of our campaign, but were a bit scared, but they work with us on it. And the amount of people that have said, oh my God, you guys made me feel so relaxed and I was able to tell my story. And it's kind of cathartic that they've done that as an exercise. And it's like a process for them in their journey or their recovery journey, depending on what sort of situation or background they're coming from. And it's just really rewarding. Like the amount of different people that we've met and spoken to just is brilliant. Each week we're speaking to new different people and telling different stories, creating campaigns and getting everyone sort of excited to be involved in things. And I think that's what makes it like powerful.
That's why the culture is really important as well, because when you're dealing with so many difficult situations, I mean, we can go through three or four of the types of things I've talked about in a single day. You can imagine for a lot of people, that's like pretty tough going. There's a lot of you have one meeting with somebody that's having a difficult time. Or you meet a friend that's having a difficult time for a cup of coffee with them. You can go away sort of afterwards thinking, goodness me, we're dealing with that every day. And so the culture that we have here, the openness, the ability for the team to tell us if they're not happy about something, to know what we're making, to have that complete transparency, I think is absolutely vital to what we do. We couldn't do what we do without it, because it means we can all be present and be honest about how we're feeling about something. I'm thinking like, and I won't name the project because it wouldn't be fair or appropriate, but there was one in December last year that you were up somewhere else in the
Mm.
country doing, and you phoned me on the way back because it had kind of blown your mind
Mm.
in not a good way. And
Yeah, it's stuck for a long
it's
time.
not, yeah, and that's we need to have that space where we can have those conversations, and that exists right across the team. But again, if you say we need to be able to talk about the difficult subjects, but hey, we're not talking about money, then actually you're taking the piss. So the openness has to be about absolutely everything, and that should be the way that it is. And I have worked in a number of businesses where it was not that way. So we're all shaped by where we've been in the past.
What would you say has been your biggest challenge that you've had to face as business owners over the last 10 years?
If you want to say me.
Yeah, him. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I was going to say IT as a joke, but when you run a small business and lots of people know this, you do everything. So
Yeah.
IT, HR, directing,
Facilities.
facilities management, uh, haggling with landlords. But
But
IT is always a funny one that we joke about because
Yeah.
none of us know how to be IT specialists, but we somehow make it work. But
but you don't have an IT department, so you got to learn, right? It's like
yeah,
Yeah.
we are the IT department.
We're all those departments.
Yeah.
What I will say though is, in all seriousness, Lauren touched on it earlier. We had a tough summer last year. It's hard when you're a small business to manage that pipeline because we also deliver some of the work. And although we try to be as sort of circumspect as possible about what we get involved in and what we don't get involved in, the reality is we're a small business and you have to lead from the front and be prepared to roll your sleeves up and not ask anybody in the team to do anything you wouldn't do yourself. And so that's always a constant challenge, um, that business development sort of pipeline, if you like, and we do okay with it. But we got to last sort of June, first quarter, and we did a very good first quarter, but we looked at the next quarter, and in truth, it looked a bit of a mess. It was thin, and I think there was a couple of reasons for that. We had traditionally always published a creds book at the start of the year, like a beautiful 50-page sort of coffee table style book, which was really helpful for us to share with even with existing clients, just to continue to remind them we're here, as well as introducing ourselves to new ones. And we were so busy at the first bit of the year, we didn't get to it. And that, if there's ever a thing about, is marketing actually important, it was probably a lesson to ourselves that we were too internal facing at that point. And, we looked at the numbers compared to previous years and we're like, we're in a bit of bother here. At this moment in time, we cannot continue to operate with this level of expenditure and this level of income. So, as Lauren said, we're really transparent about how things are. So we took the team through the numbers. And we're saying at this moment in time, we're going to make a loss this year. And the way the business is structured means that we don't make any money if there's a loss, because we don't take money where it doesn't exist. So, but we work together. We work together on accelerating a mid-year creds book and a big campaign that the entire team got involved in. And I would say bit by bit, almost week by week through August, September, October, November, we started to slowly move things round. Not, by the way, no magic wand, but slowly started to move to a situation where we could see at least a break-even line there. And then we introduced, almost as a way to push ourselves over the line, if you like, some interim targets, which we'd never felt the need to do before, to sort of say, right, we need to be at this point, this point, and this point over the course of the next 3 months. And actually, it created a real sort of rallyingness in the team because they were seeing what the target was. We were seeing the target was. I think what we managed to do was bring everybody together and utilize the fact that we had a strong culture. Right. But you can imagine taking a situation where it's tough to a team, and the first thing they'd be thinking
Is my job safe?
yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
think that is that you're right. That is the kind of challenge that we sort of, particularly with our client base being third sector as well. So we're not, producing big campaigns for like Nike and Disney and, massive brands. It's really small charities. So obviously budgets are much smaller and decisions on budgets are much tougher from their perspective as well. So it's like
or
it's kind of like we live life on the edge, I guess. Like we can't look like into next financial year and say we've got all of this work coming because we don't. So we kind of live like month to month in that regard, but try and obviously build it. So that that probably is the biggest ongoing challenge that I don't think will ever not be a challenge.
and you learn to live. So I think you learn to live with a bit of stress. So when I started out 10 years ago, my wife was quite concerned. She worried that from a kind of mental health point of view, I might struggle with the peaks and troughs of running a business, the highs and lows. And there's definitely moments of stress. And I've learned that I need to keep looking over the hill to the next problem and try and think about what that next problem is rather than waiting for it to arrive. But actually, you do learn to live yeah, kind of on the edge, as you say, because the nature of our business means there is no charity that's saying, "Here's a 5-year contract, crack on, and we'll
Yeah.
see you in half a decade's time."
Charities struggle themselves, don't they? They're always looking for the next,
Yeah,
you know, how are they going to raise funds
yeah.
and where are they going to get the next? So, yeah, but we do operate. We need a bit of stress and pressure to operate at our best, right? So when what's the phrase when you're fat and comfortable, um, it's hard to get up.
I'm fat and uncomfortable. Just to be,
So am I. Uh, look,
Yeah, I was
we're
gonna say I thrive more on a bit of a stressy deadline, don't I?
yeah. So we're
Like
quite
if I
different.
have 2 weeks to do something, if I have a day to do something, I'm on it.
Yeah,
I've definitely gone grey in the time. That's my stress.
working with me.
Yeah.
that's just biochemistry, though. I mean, that's just science. Anybody that says, I wish I wish I was in business without the stress, right? I wish I had the business, but not the stress. You're just kidding yourself, right?
Yeah.
I know.
And the more successful the business, the bigger the problems. The bigger the
Yeah.
business, the bigger the problems.
I
What's
think
the
I think I was going to say, I think what's interesting is we're quite different personalities. So there's a lot of things we agree on in terms of like we both like Greece, we both like food. Um, uh, we've got kind of likes that are similar, and yet our personalities are quite different. So like Lauren thrives on that stress of getting things done at the last minute, whereas I'm like tearing my hair out. I'm the person that wants to have it done 3 days early. But actually, I think what you find is that there was never any point in us. It would never have any point in having like another one of me being there because actually I've learned an enormous amount, and I've also learned where I need to be more tolerant or aware, and because we're all different personalities. So I do think if there's like a learning for people out there who are thinking about business and thinking about the people that you might surround yourself with, whether they own the business with you or not, I think it's really good to have people who do bring not just a different perspective, because I actually think our perspectives on the work that we do are probably quite similar,
Yeah.
but have a different sense of just how you go about things. And actually, that's really helpful. I know you might not believe it, but I'm definitely more laid back than I was.
God, still got a long way to go.
Well,
I
it's
think
always
it's
a
the
work in
people,
progress.
it's the people around you who get to decide if you're more laid back than you were, Lawrence.
Yeah, we'll run a survey with the team,
They'll let
see
you know.
what comes back.
Um, just as we start to wrap up, because we're kind of coming up to the end of our time together, I know it goes by quickly. What advice would you two have for business owners who are thinking about going out on their own, or who have just started out on their own? What would be the one piece of advice you'd give them?
Oh, that's tricky.
It's gone quiet now. It's hard to pick one, isn't it? Because there's so many learnings.
Yeah, there's
Um,
I'm trying to decide to be how controversial to be here.
oh God.
So,
hey, you can say anything on my podcast. Well,
oh, I know we've worked with we've worked with lots of small businesses as well over the years, micro small startups, and I think we have a fairly good handle now on which businesses we think will go on to be successful and which won't. And so I think it's very easy for people to say now, I'm going to start a business. Um, we want to control our lives more. We think we can get a better work-life balance if we're in charge and stuff like that. I don't actually think starting a business is for everyone. And I think sometimes thinking about actually, am I prepared to throw in as much as I need to throw in? You know, with the best will in the world, Lauren and I often will work 7 days a week. We'll speak at the weekends, we'll be here in the evenings. We don't expect that of our team, but we expect if we're running the business, it's our job to be out front and do that. So my advice might be rather than sort of do this or do that, really think about, can you go all in? Because if you can, and we see that, those are the businesses that work, because those are the people that like drag them into towards success. I don't think, and there may be some exceptions, but I don't think you can take short circuits to some of this stuff. So yeah, in some ways, I may be saying to some of your listeners and viewers to this podcast, just think about whether it is actually what you want to do.
Lauren,
Yeah. I think for me, a, a simple thing that I would say is don't be, you're not going to get everything right all the time. Like, how many things have we got wrong? We could talk to you for another hour, if more, but you're not going to get everything right all the time, but don't be afraid of that. Just try things out, learn from it, and try and do as much as you can, and listen to the people around the team that you build around you. If you end up building a team around you, or lean into people for expertise. But yeah, things will go wrong. It's not all, like you say, an overnight success or plain sailing. So just believe in yourself, but let the mistakes happen.
And we've had some spectacular mistakes.
oh,
I mean,
do you want to compare?
Be here a while.
yeah, we've had some absolutely and by the way, some of those spectacular mistakes are my spectacular mistakes as well. Like some of them are business mistakes that happen, but there's also moments you look back on, and there is no question you would think, why did I do that? Why did I say that? Why did I go down that route? Why on earth didn't you just stop, pull back, think, pause, whatever it might be? But I suppose we're 10 years into this journey now, and we're still standing. So it's like you say, it's okay to make mistakes. I mean, you can't keep making them because at some point it'll catch up with you. But as long as you can kind of learn from them and move forward,
It's
it's
how
okay.
do you respond to the mistake, right? How do you
Yeah.
learn from it? How quickly do you address it? Not avoiding it. Right? There's always going to be problems, right? There's always going to be failures and mistakes. But that is really, really good advice, um, and really great learnings and stories from today. So thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure meeting you both today, and finding out about you and finding out about Electrify. But we're out of time. So I want to just thank you very much for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
And thanks to all our listeners and our viewers for tuning into the Founders Chair podcast every week. Keep an eye out for more on YouTube and Spotify and LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. But just want to say once again, thanks again to Lawrence Brody and Lauren Bennett from Electrify. Thanks again, guys.
Thank you.